So, what is no code movement? The idea of no code is to enable visual software development for the masses. Now, historically, software development or developing apps, games, or websites require you to understand and be able to program or code. And if you still know how to code and program, it's a big advantage. And we'll be talking about how you can develop software as well in the latter part of this video, regardless of that. Now, if you are able to program, you have a competitive edge, and you have a big edge over those who don't. And it will make a big difference. At least if you have the theoretical understanding of how computers think and how computers function. Okay, so let's talk about what no code really entails for people. This movement started, or at least blew up in about 2018. And when I say blew up, what I mean is the awareness of the fact that people can develop software without knowing how to code started about 2018. There are a couple of famous personalities, or if I could say, a couple of famous people like Ben Tossell, and also companies like Webflow, Bubble, Glide. These are Webflow, Glide, and Bubble are tools actually. So Webflow and Bubble, I guess, are the biggest players in this in the no code field. Although there are also people like also other tools like Wiseflow, Glide, Adalo, Buildbox, in WordPress also to some extent, Squarespace, Card. There are the list of tools just go on and on and on. Airtable also to some extent. So there are so many tools right now for you to be able to create apps without knowing how to code. So there are different ways you can do it. So when I say apps, I mean to say anything: games, desktop software, web software, or mobile applications. Um, so so what do you need to know in order? Why is it a big deal, or who is it really for? Now, when I said that if you know how to program, it's a competitive edge. Now, I'm myself a computer. I have a bachelor's degree in computer science and engineering. Although I do have that and I did programming, although I will make a video on what really computer science is. Now, computer science is not really computer programming itself. It's not a course on programming. But if you have done some programming, but you have tried for a lot of times, and if you failed, no code will help you to do and achieve your results, as opposed to simply keep trying all the time. All right, so let me tell you who no code is for. Let's say you are a visual thinker or a visual designer. Okay, let's say you are a designer, somebody who can think, but you don't have to really be a designer as a UI designer. But let's say you have a good you're a visual thinker, and you've always wondered, like, I want to create this app, but I can't code. So you are that kind of person, but you are in the tech, but you're really interested in doing that, but you're into the tech industry. You really like what's happening in the tech. You're into this sort of niche, but you're not able to participate as a creator or as a maker because of your because you are more into the idea of managing a project, or creating the user base, or everything, like facilitating the resources as opposed to coding it. Now, that's a valid concern, or a valid, let's say, I don't want to use the word excuse, but um, uh, that's a valid skill in the tech industry, like community building. So if you are one of those kinds of people, you can build the kind of websites. Now, some of the no code builders use drag and drop. But what's different about no code versus the last time, or all these years? Because there used to be a lot of website drag and drop website builders, all the way starting from the early 2000s. So what's special about these days? Now, the thing about these days is that you can, it's not just building static websites, although, yes, you can do that also. But there are a couple of things that have happened. Now, the first of all, the thing is that you can now build database driven applications, meaning data your web applications can actually talk to other servers or other things. Now let's say, for example, historically, or in the other website builders, the website builders of the olden days, what you were able to do is, let's say you want to build an e-commerce site. You can build an e-commerce site, but you have to enter all that information, and all the people coming to your site will only be able to consume the information that you do. A good example would be, let's say let's say you go into the a blog or a news website, let's say New York Times or CNN or BBC or any of these websites. Now you can't really contribute much information, although yes you can, but then it's the contact form, but the amount of interaction you can have with news websites is so limited. You can at the very most comment on something, you can bookmark something, but you can't really contribute articles, right? I mean, you can't, but you can't contribute articles as a part of New York Times or whatever, unless you are a part of New York Times thing. So, I mean, you can not be a part of the New York Times team and still contribute things, just like Facebook. Okay, so Facebook feed is different for everybody. Now that's called a web app. Okay, now traditionally, to make that kind of a web app, it was difficult without programming, because you either have to hack through a bunch of different tools and make something like that, or you'll have to hire somebody to do it, or you need to code. You'll need to be able to know how to code to develop web apps. But now a lot of things have happened. Now, first thing is, I came across Bubble, I think in about 2015 for the first time, and I came across Bubble. Now, Bubble is a very famous no-code web app builder, but I think it will very soon you'll be able to ship mobile apps as well. You can still technically kind of achieve something like that, but you can't really ship native apps as of yet. There are workarounds, but they're not really right there yet. It's not as good. Okay, so Bubble is a really good website builder, and a really good. It's a website builder as well, but you can build complicated web apps. Like, you can create apps that have databases. You can have users coming and signing in, sign up. They contribute data, and you can have user accounts, user profiles. You can have news feeds and all that. So user basically contribute data. So you can do all that stuff, and you can also have complex workflows. So let's say, for example, I click on a button. Now, historically with WordPress, let's say you can only install a plugin and that's it. So whatever the plugin offers is that what the button does. So you can't really alter the minor things. Now with programming, the advantage you had was, let's say you don't like the button and the website builder offers you the function. You can't really change one small thing, but with no-code solutions like Bubble, you have control over every single thing. So what happens when I click on the button? A pop-up opens. A pop-up has to have this level of, this button has to be this big, that big. Like traditionally what you were able to do with code, you're able to do that with no code. So the line of what you were able to do with and without code is sort of slowly blurring out. Now the question arises, so if you can achieve everything without code, why are our software developers going to lose their jobs? No, it's not gonna work that way. First thing is that, first of all, more people are going to be able to develop software, which means that the kind of things like developing a basic web app with sign in and sign up functionality, and like basic user like profiles and all that, those kinds of stuff has already been done, right? So how to save data, or basic machine learning stuff like detecting, translating a word, or identifying if the sentence is positive or negative, or what is in this picture. Does this picture have something bad or good or whatever. Like, does this violate any terms or whatever like that. So basic things like those kinds of stuff are already done, and in today's machine learning algorithms, or today's I think you can achieve. You don't really have to reinvent the wheel of developing a sign-in or a authentication system, because there already exist a lot of systems. So programmers are now going to tackle more interesting problems, and they're gonna look into problems like more advanced machine learning stuff, and then we're gonna look at the advancement of like VR, like virtual reality. We're gonna expand what you can achieve with technology. So the so programmers are going to have more are going to be able to focus on more demanding or challenging problems, and be able to expand human potential if that makes sense. So while programmers are doing that kind of job, visual developers and people like us, who are when I was a kid, I used to play with Legos a lot, and I like building things with Legos, because when there was little pieces, and everything was not explicit, what I like to do was I like to mix a couple of pieces and then like to tell a story with that. And the way I told that is, here's a piece, and I can make an Eiffel Tower, so I make an Eiffel Tower. Or I like to tell a story about a police in about me. I don't know, about some police story or whatever that is. A story about a kid that lost his wallet in somewhere. I don't know, whatever. So as a kid, I used to have wild imaginations, and I like to tell stories. So I used to have Legos, and I used to play with those. So it's kind of like that, right? So the thing is, you no longer have to manufacture toys in order to tell stories with physical things. You can use Legos. So in this case, you have all the tools at your disposal to create something like a web app. Now, the question that arises is, okay, so basically what you're saying is no code can only do low level tasks and cannot do high level tasks like that. Well, there are limitations when it comes to no code. Okay, although if you are really passionate, yes, you can hack things, and you can make almost anything you want. There does exist limits. Now the limits we'll be talking about in another video. There's a video that I'm making which is called about limitations of no code, what you can and what you cannot do about no code. Although this video is dedicated to no code, that's a different I have quite a lot of things to share about that, because I think there's limitations in different facets or different aspects. So it's not just the limitations of what you can accomplish in the technology side, but there are also limitations on the cost side. So you're either trading for time, you're trading time for money, or you're trading money for time. So no-code solutions are not exactly expensive, but they're expensive if you choose the wrong path. So I will help you guys on something like to help you make the right decisions on that end. But as of right now, it's important to know that limitations of no code do exist. But the question that comes up is, so no code solutions are not scalable. The answer is no. They are scalable. Okay. The thing is, I have always received this kind of question. So what happens, because you're developing software on a proprietary tool or a proprietary tool? What happens if the company, like let's say Bubble or Webflow, they disappeared the other day? All your data is gone. Your application is gone. Well, first of all, they're not in that kind of position. Fortunately. No code movement. I have asked this question myself. I have been in the no code movement for the past 5 years. I work with clients. I work with other no code developers, and let me tell you guys something. No code is here to stay for, as I think, at least for the next 5 to 10 years, and it's only going to get better. It's only going to get more popular. It's not gonna go down. And the way I'm saying this is because the reason I'm saying this is because what's actually happening and why it's a big deal is that it's not that visual developers will be given low level tasks. It's just that you no longer need to know traditional programming in order to code. Okay, in computer science, okay, usually even if you take up coding editors, like if you take up code editors or code environments or tools that allow you to program, tools like brackets, Swift, Java's what's that called, Android Studio, yeah. If you know what you want to if you know what you want to achieve, okay, let's say if you want the button to open a pop-up or a message box, but you don't know how to code, if you just type in the word M, if you start M, the visual editor, or I'm sorry, not the visual editor, but the code editor tries to give you suggestions on what you might be looking for. Oh, you want looking for a message box. Okay, message box. Dot. What do you want to do with the message box? Do you want to show it, close it, open it, pop it, increase the size, change the color? What do you want to do? Oh, okay. I just want to select show. Okay, show, and then that's done. So okay, so what I'm trying to say is that you don't really need to memorize the words. Like you don't need to memorize. Okay, so how do I? You don't need to memorize the syntax these days. What you need to know is you need to have logical reasoning skills. Okay, so visual development today is made possible because you don't need to remember syntax. When you are developing software visually, what's happening behind the doors or what's happening behind these tools is that they're translating it to code. And that's how computer is able to understand those things. So it's not that computer is understanding when you drag and drop something. That's not how computer understands it, but that's a interface. That's a experience. So that's just making sure people like you and me who are not able to think in words are able to develop something. So as no code tools start to get better, we will hit a time when the limitation will not be on whether you know syntax or whether you're able to remember this method or that method or any kind of mathematical skills, but whether or not you're a arithmetic person, you'll still be able to make software so long as you're creative and you're passionate. So that's the idea of no code, is that there will be a time when developing software itself will not require you to remember syntax or to remember methods or to know how programming works, but you still will need to know. But it's not like everything will happen automatically, but the amount of effort or the things that you traditionally require to make software, that will go down, and software jobs will only go up because of this, because more and more software developers are coming on board, and the kind of the jobs that you do with software development will actually go up. All right, so a good example would be why jobs would go up, or the demand for these jobs would go up, would be let's say, for example, you have a lot of MBA guys, like a lot of people who did MBAs, right? Or there are a lot of hiring managers out there, people who know how to hire people. There are a lot of companies who are hiring, and even though there exist a lot of hiring managers, um, it's not like just because people crack the solution to how to become you can go to a university and get a degree on approximately the MBA or something, so there's something surrounding hiring. Okay, so you can take a diploma course or something around hiring, but just because the formula on how to crack a solution exists, it doesn't mean that now the value for it is completely depleted. Yes, developing an app is no longer, if you develop an app today, it's not the same as those days when developing an app itself was a big deal. Let me give you an instant. Now, I'm a product manager at a company called Society Gal. And when you launch an app these days, you need to market the app somehow. Like you need to still do the marketing yourself. Now Apple will do the marketing for you if your application is already if your application has enough downloads. But if you submitted app back in 2000 and I don't know 2010 or 2009 when App Store was completely new, you had a big chance of being successful on the App Store even if you hadn't marketed your app, because there were not many apps on the App Store those days. So the chances of your app having a copy or a duplicate version of, I mean, a copy of your idea, of your app idea, was very less, because the time it took to make an app was incredibly, was a lot, right? So that's that. So how can you be a no-code developer? Now, the way you can do is I have two courses, by the way, on Skillshare. Please be sure to go check them out. I will make some live streams on how I develop my app. I have a tool called Frama, Frama.me, where you can create your own portfolios or web pages. Go check that out as well. I'll be making a live stream later on how I develop my my websites using Bubble. And if you want tutorials on the basic stuff, I have two courses on Bubble and Glide. One teaches you how to develop websites using dynamic web apps using Bubble. I'm sorry, using Bubble to develop web apps, and the other one is for developing mobile friendly apps. So that's using Glide. So check both those courses out. I will leave the link to those in the description below. Or you can go to Skillshare and search for my name, Hashir, Haashir, and I'm pretty sure you'll find the results. Yeah, until then, guys, you should go check those courses out. And also, if you're interested in Webflow, there's something called Webflow University. Check those courses out. Start playing with the tools. But here's what it is, okay? Spend like 1 week or two, and not more than a week or two, just learning the tools and everything. Learn the basics. That's enough, okay? Learn the basics, and then what you need to do is start building on your ideas. The thing is, the first thing you make will be only for yourself, and the first thing you make will not look like how you imagined it to be, and it's okay. All right. The thing is, let's say for example, you wanted to achieve a responsive website, but you're not able to do that. But at least you accomplished a normal a desktop version that kind of works on mobile. At least it works on mobile, right? It doesn't look as good, but still it works on phone. That's better than not making it all. So good job, you're at least on the market now. So you can start working on it. It's the most difficult phase of building a product is the first phase, okay? Is building the first thing, is the building the foundation. That's the most difficult thing. So so that's why if you are a visual developer, can do it. Now the question that also comes up is, so can coders develop websites using no-code solution? The answer is obviously yes. It's the democratization of software development. But here's the thing. One of my colleagues also asked this question: can I use Bubble to develop software? But I don't know how efficient it is. And I said, look. The thing that pisses off a lot of programmers is that they don't like the fact that, the mouse and visually things are so slow, because with keyboard you can write a lot of commands and you can get a lot more done with keyboard than you can do with mouse. I don't know if that makes sense, but let's say for example you want to create a data set, okay? You need to go to the dataset editor, create all those items, and then start implementing in the application. But on code, maybe for us, like for visual thinkers, if you're not, for somebody who thinks in pictures, I don't mind going through the hassle of clicking more things and then I can develop it, but at least I can understand. But for a programmer, the amount of clicks it takes, it just pisses them off. So if you're that kind of person who is okay with those kinds of things, then by all means you should use no-code solutions. It's a lot faster, but it's just about the thing that, oh crap, I have to click on so many things. when I started, I was actually a technical. I used to play with WordPress. Okay, WordPress, for those of you who don't know, is actually a tool to create blogs and static websites. But you can install plugins. So people create add-ons or like additional pieces of software that you can integrate with your WordPress website. Okay, that's called plugins. So I used to install plugins and somehow hack things and then sort of make websites in my app ideas. That's what I could do in those days. But nowadays I don't do it. No, I actually have a team of developers and we work with other startups. We start with, let's say, no code solutions if we can because it's less expensive. But then if the team is able to afford, I mean if the company is able to afford, and we wanna offer more, let's say, if the company is getting too big, and if he has too specific requirements. Now, the amount of things, as I said, there are limitations, specifically in the UI side. So I've noticed one of the companies I worked with, the company I worked with today started off from Bubble, and then we merged to traditional programming because the requirements required, the requirements could not be done with Bubble. Okay, so we had to then code the entire application from scratch. So there is that. So like I said, there exist limitations. So the thing is, you start with a bubble, and then what we do is we look at, you look at how things are progressing, and the thing is, no code solutions are also scalable because bubble, for example, let's say if your application gets too big, you can actually develop your mobile app. You can take the data from the no code solution and then make a mobile app later. You can do that, just so you know. So yeah, I think it's extensible, it's scalable. It's just maybe not as scalable as, let's say, on programming. So yeah, I hope this clears some questions. But if there's anything, we talk more about this in the limitations of no code. And there's also another video coming up about GPT-3. This is a very very new thing, at least for the day, at least as of now. So GPT-3 is also something kind of similar to no code, and some people say it's actually aiding no code, or it will help no code to get better. So actually these two things will go together. So we'll talk about GPT-3 in the next video, and then after that we'll be talking about limitations of no code. Until then, guys, I hope you guys like this video. Share. I hope you guys found this video informative. Like this video because YouTube algorithm likes it. Subscribe to this channel, and I shall see you guys in another video.